Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a page from the Break the Blank page. What comes next? I'm going to show you the second plus layers after we break that blank page. So here we're also using a napkin. That was layer one. I broke the blank page by decoupaging a napkin from Ninny's Napkins down. And here is that page. So that has given me the focal point. It's also going to guide the color choice that I will do here. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted blues in the background for the sky or if I was going to go with the colors that were actually in the napkins. So I grabbed my Naples yellow, and my Hooker's green, and I'm going to use the block and blend technique. So this is gessoed. This page has been gessoed. And the reason I want it gessoed is that will help me put on the paint. It won't absorb into the paper. It'll stay on the surface and it will allow me to blend the colors easier on the page. So I decided I'm going to use the colors that are in the napkin and create basically as if this was filled with sunflowers. That is the effect that I want to develop. I'm adding a little bit of gesso, mixing it with my fingers. I'm dipping into the brighter yellow and the Naples yellow, as well as the green, and just getting a nice blend of colors for my background. I could be using a makeup sponge. I'm also not too worried if I go a little over the napkin. That will just help it all blend together because I will be painting over that napkin. If you look in the iCard in the top right hand corner, I will link the Break the Blank page original video. So you can check that out if you haven't watched it, and you'll see all 10 ways. And those 10 layers, those 10 ways are also layers that we can add as second and third and fifth layers. And you'll see me doing that as I finish these pages. We're not recreating the wheel. We are just using the same basic techniques in a different order. As you watch me blend these colors, I also just want to remind you that I would love if you would go and follow me on Instagram at Creative Katie. It's a quick, easy way to see what I'm up to and what's going on in my studio. Loving how this color combo ended up working. Now I'm just taking a little bit more gesso and painting it in, or gesso in the paint, and painting in some of the white areas around this napkin. Now this napkin, I love the sunflowers, but the colors weren't exactly what I like in a sunflower. I wanted different colors. And I'm going to take that and tweak it. Here I have some gesso off to the side, some yellow, some of the orange, and I'm dipping my brush, getting globs of it, quite honestly, and just painting over the napkin. I'm using the napkin as a basic guide. Sometimes I'm elongating the petals and I'm globbing it on, and you can see how that's building up texture. We have the texture from the napkin already, and I'm just building more texture into my focal images. This is giving a very painterly effect. You've seen me do similar ones with it. I love, love, love this technique. This is where you take the basics of a napkin or a focal point or a printable and you make it your own. You can see how much brighter these colors are compared to that one. And you can see how it really brings out that texture. And I do the same with the green and the leaves. And I'm not going for realism here. This is more of an abstract flower. And I find when I do this technique, the less precise, the less in my head that I am, the better it goes. Now I wanted to add a little bit more orange warmth to the sunflower, so I'm editing it. I'm making it my own, adding a little bit more. I'm not sure if this is burnt sienna. It's a reddish brown color. Just cleaning up a little bit, sorry for the blur. Now that one's done and I'm happy with it. So when I'm doing this, quite often I will put a little bit of globby gesso because I want that texture. And then when that's wet, I'm coming in with the colors. And I don't mind if there's a little bit of that white showing through, coming through on the edges. I think that just adds to it. So this layer is all about painting over your printable or your napkin, whatever your focal image is. And, for those of us who struggle with drawing or just painting from nothing, this is a good way of being able to have a focal image that you really love. And napkins, like I said, they're a great source of florals that work so well with this technique. Just adding darks and lights. But I'm really liking how this has come together. Now, because it's globby paint, it will take a little bit of time to dry. Now, what I've done is this sentiment pack that I'm using is one of my soon to be released sentiment packs. It's called Time After Time. And I'm just I take the sentiments, I print them out, I cut them down, and that allows me to addition them on the page. And that's what I'm doing here. Now I figured out which quotes I wanted, but I wanted the background to show. I didn't want the white, so I printed this on regular tissue paper. And I just cut that out. Now, because I'm putting it on tissue paper, when I glue this down, the tissue paper becomes translucent or mostly translucent, and I will see that background color come out. The sentiment typically isn't going to be as bold, and it's even less so right now because my printer is low in ink. And since I was taking the time to put the tissue paper through the printer, I put several quotes. And those leftover ones all go in an envelope and I keep them all together. So when I want a time coat, I just go to that envelope and I can pick through whatever sizes, whatever I've printed out, whatever's cut out. When I cut them out, I get rid of as much of the tissue paper as possible. I know it goes mostly translucent, but I like to get it out of it. Now I wanted to add a little bit more to my background, and I thought maybe a border of these sunflowers would look good. So I grabbed that brown color because I wanted the burnt sienna, and I give it a try. And nope, it's not giving me the effect that I like. Now here's the benefit of having it acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is permanent when dry. And if I work quickly, as you saw me doing, I could take off that with a baby wipe very quickly. Now I wanted to add some more of that brown in there, so I grabbed this ethereal stencil and I'm using that burnt sienna color. And I love how that little motif, it works so well with the shape of the sunflower, with the center of the sunflower. It warms up that middle part. I just thought that this pattern was perfect in the middle. It just made me happy. Before it was a little too plain. Now, if you liked it the way it was, there's nothing saying that you have to do another layer, that you have to add that motif. I could have stamped script. I could have done a lot. I could have splattered with the burnt sienna color. Here I'm just edging with that burnt sienna. I have it on the sponge, so even though I know I'm probably going to come back with black to shade around the edges, I like having that burnt sienna. Some of that shows and it gives, again, more complexity to your page. Now you can see with the addition of that ethereal stencil in the middle, my focal images now aren't standing out as much from the background. And I want them to stand out, of course. So you'll see very quickly what I do to solve that problem. Now, if you're putting tissue paper down and your background isn't as light as this, you could do a wash with white gesso just where the sentiment's going to go, and that will push back those colors so that your words stand out and don't get lost in a busy or dark background. Use lots of fluid matte medium for the best results in getting that tissue paper to go translucent. Here I'm just folding it, getting where the center is so I can just eyeball and align it. Little tricks of the trade. Now here I am using the floating acrylic technique and a combination of the burnt sienna color and black, and I am shading my sunflower. And this is so that it stands out a little more from the background. And if you look at the original napkin, you can see where the artist there put the shadows or highlights, and you can kind of copy them. But remember, I painted over top of everything, so now I need to put those back in. So first layer was napkins. Second layer was block and blend technique of applying color. Third layer was the painterly effect, using the napkin as the guide. Then I did some stenciling on the background. I also used tissue paper. And now I'm going to use this script stamp and put some stamping on the background. Just a little bit of script. And I'm using that burnt sienna color as well. I didn't want to put black. I thought that would just be a little too much. And as usual, I don't know where to stop. Do you have that problem too? Now I'm using my charcoal pencil, my General's charcoal pencil, one of my favorite tools, and just adding a little bit more shading and line work, very sketchy. And I believe I'm using the soft or the medium. My goal here isn't to smudge it so much as it is to get lines on the, and I'm going to use the charcoal as well to shade around the page. I want that soft muted look that the charcoal gives. And right now I know I'm not adding any more layers of anything wet, so the charcoal will stay put. If this was in a canvas, I would then spray it with a fixative to seal that charcoal before I would put my polyacrylic varnish. And this page is almost done. I love how it all came together. I hope you do too. Give me a comment. Give me a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram. Close-ups of the finished page are coming. And here's a recap of this page. We started with napkins, block and blend to apply color. I used some tissue papers with my letters, and I stamped and stenciled. Thanks so much for joining me. Now go get creative.